Annual Sports Hall of Fame induction. I would like to thank all of you for coming tonight. We have a great group that are being inducted. My name is Richard Mariana. I'm the athletic director here. It's truly a great pleasure for me to do this year after year. It is the best part of my job to do this. I truly enjoy seeing all the people come back for this, meet new friends, meet old friends, see some great faces that I haven't seen in years. It's a great time for me, and I hope you enjoy the evening. I'd like to personally thank Dustin Dick, our principal. He supports this in more ways than you can imagine. Callen Cathy is our associate principal. He also, they give me a lot of leeway to host this thing. It really is a pleasure. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Joe Schrock, who continues to be the MC here. And I can't be happier that he's here with us today. Mr. Joe Schrock.
Before we commence, I would like to second appreciation to Dustin Dick and Callen Cathy for the support, administrative support they give to these festivities. Also to Mike Boyer for what I think is an outstanding program. To Jennifer Miller for her video recording. She's taken over from Corey Wilson in that very important job and has done it well in the past and will continue to do so. To Athletic Director Rich Mariana. He bears a heavy load for this production. To John Ostrich, who, for his oversight of the selection committee. He regrets that he can't be here tonight, but he's got a grandson that has had some medical issues that are hopefully being resolved. A prayer would not hurt for that healing. Also, members of the selection committee for all the work that you do. Would any members who are members of the selection committee please stand up and be recognized? This is a really tough job and they do it well. We also have some people here who are already members of the Hall of Fame. Anyone who has ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame prior to tonight, would you please also stand up? Believe me, that represents a lot of talent. One other name deserves mention. Doesn't appear on any program or doesn't really ask for this recognition, but when my presence tonight was in question, Terry Schnacker responded to the call for a replacement. Anyone who knows Tracy knows that he likes to be organized and that he likes being prepared. In fact, when I talked to him yesterday, he already had a script ready. And I might say better than mine. So this could be it. But in his introduction, I'm borrowing here, in his introduction he asked who the backup to Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs quarterback was. How many of you know? I did not. Show of hands, all who know. Okay, Chad Henne, who threw all of 2 passes last year. In a self-deprecating statement, Tracy likened himself to the Chad Henne of this year's Hall of Fame. And I might remind him that when a starting quarterback messes up, the fans always clamor for the backup. So my tenure may be in jeopardy. Moving on, I would like to remind you that the homecoming parade will begin in Topeka West East slot, starting at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon after an assembly in the gym at 2. Those inductees who plan to stay around for tomorrow night's football game and have an umbrella, we'd like to introduce you at the halftime. If you would just meet at the the north end of the west straightaway about 4 minutes before the end of the first half, we'll get you prepared to go out and be introduced to the crowd at the halftime of the football game. So, having that bookkeeping out of the way, good evening to all of you tonight, and welcome to the 21st Annual Topeka West Sports Hall of Fame Induction. My name is Joe Schrog, and it is my distinct honor and pleasure to be your MC for tonight's festivities. There's no place I'd rather be than Topeka West on Hall of Fame night. And as usual, we have marvelous inductees to hear from and about, and I can't wait to get started. Our first inductee is in the category of Special Award. The recipients to this award have contributed mightily to the athletics at Topeka West, despite the fact that they may never have played a down or taken a snap or shot a basket. They have been marvelous contributors, and if you look in the program at the previous inductees, you'll see some names that you will recognize that were not athletes, but who have contributed a great deal to Topeka West athletics. Usually this has been a single individual. Tonight that all changes. A group will be so honored, and deservedly so, for their contributions to Topeka West athletics. Many of these have played and have contributed in ways that have contributed to the sport, but also they've contributed in a way that does not reflect in wins and losses directly, but indirectly. This group, the Frank Walton Foundation, will be introduced by none other than Frank Walton. Currently no stranger to this podium, himself a Hall of Famer, and someone who has stood up here recognizing many athletes that have been under his tutelage. So Frank, you got it.
Feed my family with those guys. You know, before I start, I come from Italian descent. And when I talk about my kids, I get a little emotional. And I apologize before I even start. I first congratulate all the inductees tonight. Very well-deserved, great group. The night is very special to all involved with Topeka West athletics. For Nancy and I, it is a very special night. I'm going to tell you one thing though. This man down here, it would not be a special night without Joe Schrog. Then it was carried on by Coach Ostrich and Coach Mariana, and we appreciate that. Coach Ostrich texted me the other day and asked me to congratulate everybody that he could not be here, and his grandson is making a recovery. So it's been a long road for the kid, so he's coming. For my family and my kids, man, we thank you. I know this is not my job tonight, but I got two of my babies going in tonight. Two of my favorites, Jason Mills, Jimmy Dennis. Great kids, great players, great men. I love them with all my heart. Boy, could I tell you a story about those two. My job tonight is to present the board members of the Frank Walton Classic. Every time Nancy hears Frank Walton Classic, she goes, "You're a classic, all right." We were walking the dog one day up in the cul-de-sac behind where we live, and there was a young lady out there with her little girl, and we introduced ourselves, and we found out she was a teacher at Topeka West, and I said, "Well, I'm Frank Walton." "Oh," she said, "you're the classic." Nancy says, he's a classic, all right. You know, when you teach or coach, which I always thought, and still will, and will believe to the day I die, that it's the same thing, a teacher and a coach. What results do you want when you teach and when you coach? These tomato-head teenagers. Good people, good husbands, good parents, good citizens, and they give back to help the next generation. This, my friends, is what my boys do. They do it, and they're continually doing it. They have given back over $150,000 to Topeka West High School. If you've never been to our golf tournament, please join us. Young, old, weak, you know, it is a great day. Even if you don't play golf, you can come out for the fellowship. Dinas comes out for the fellowship. He didn't play golf. He comes out for the fellowship. It's like a huge reunion. One of the most impressive things that kids do, God, I'm trying to get away from those kids. One of the most impressive things that guys do is they have a ring of honor. It's outside the clubhouse over at Shawnee Country Club, and it's a half circle. And there are placards with pictures and names of all the ex-players that have been involved, and coaches that have been involved in Topeka West athletics and football mainly. There are even a couple of the kids that passed from my teams back in Pennsylvania that they put the signs up for them too. And one of our inductees tonight. It's Nancy and I's favorite day. And it's all possible because of these guys. They put a lot of work and a lot of effort in it. And Nancy and I love the day, I love the reunion, I love the kids. May I present to you for the induction into the Topeka West Hall of Fame, the Frank Walton Foundation Board, and to speak to them, class of 1985, Mr. John Callen.
Well, on behalf of the current members, past board members, we are honored and humbled with this award. It's an honor to be in the Sports Hall of Fame. But we'd like to thank everybody on the nominating committee, anybody that had anything to do with this. We're grateful to you, we appreciate it. None of us got into this for the notoriety. We were just looking for a way to honor a man who has meant so much to us over the years and to give back. And that's what we try to do, is give back. And we try to make sure that we do it in the right way. I'd like to honor all the people who have served in the past or currently serve on the Frank Walton Board of Directors. I'm going to do it by class here, so we get the older guys out of the way first. 1980, some of the folks aren't here. From 1980, Scott Kreider, Jeff Preisner, Scott Weller. 81, Craig Boogie Preisner. 82, Mike Holt. Of course, our class, 85, well represented tonight, Jimmy D out there. Andre Marins, Jay Gomez, Gary Knight, Nick Pruitt. And 1987, Mike Powell. And then somehow we got a Rossville Bulldog in here from the class of 2009. She's not here, Amanda Miller. She helped us, that's my daughter. She helped us with every tournament, so very proud there. Get the younger crowd in there, keep it going. It's kind of funny how this started. Back in 2008, we had a conference call, and all of a sudden came out of that as a golf tournament because the 84 football team was going into the Hall of Fame, and it was a way to, do something fun and, honor coach and do all that stuff. And, we're all sitting there, yeah, that's a great thing. And then it came down to a couple of us Topeka boys, we're the ones here, and we sat in living rooms. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We did, we just bought a bunch of stuff. We tried to get donations. We did whatever. And we had a good time doing it. And then it turned into this thing. And, here we are, 11 years later, doing the same thing. And we had our struggles. I can guarantee you weather in October is never friendly. We had a Saturday, some of you may have been there, maybe not, 27 degrees. Yeah, that was tough. Ain't good for golf. And boy, that guy in the kilt playing bagpipes was not happy. We had our down years, but we persevered. And the Frank Walton Classic has grown into something that is very respectable and something I think we'd all agree is we're very proud of. The vision since day one was to reach as many alumni as possible who played football for Coach Walton. And I believe we've done that successfully. For example, current board members, as you heard earlier, represent the classes of 80, 82, 83, 85, and 87. But the tournament itself, like Coach alluded to, is like a mini reunion. Well, it's turning into a bigger reunion every year, which is good. And so we've reached, from 78 to 93, we probably had representation at every tournament. Probably the most unexpected relationship that came out of this whole idea of the Frank Walton Classic was the friendships we made with the boys from North Allegheny. Coaches, was that your first school coach? First coaching stint. Got a picture of them pulling the flag out of the rest. We won't talk about that. They nicknamed themselves the boys from the Bird, and they're, Coach went to a reunion, and all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls, people are getting emails from these guys from Pennsylvania. We're like, who are you guys? They start telling us. They have donated or played in our tournament ever since. And that's been about 5 years, 5 or 6 years. So, it's far-reaching what this man has done. It goes way beyond what we do here. And since 2008, we've raised and donated over $150,000 in funds and in-kind donations to the football program. Some of the things that have been donated is powerlift equipment currently utilized by Big West Athletics, new football jerseys, end zone cameras, the huddle program, meals for the players, and the list goes on. In 2011, we formed the Frank Walton Classic Foundation. And if it wasn't for Jeff Preisner leading the way on that, the foundation may have never been formed, because none of us had any idea how to do that. We always struggled with how do we do this? And Jeff helped us out, and it's legitimized what we do. We are fortunate. We have a loyal group of alumni and golfers, and they come out every year and they make this tournament a very special day, and we enjoy every bit of it. In addition, our major donors who never want to be mentioned, and I will not mention them tonight out of respect for them, our corporate sponsors. They've helped grow our endeavors. We greatly appreciate their help. And obviously none of this would be possible without the Topeka West family, period. Not bad for a bunch of tomatoes.
Not bad.
Tomato heads, look at us go. Now, I'm going to make somebody cry. I don't know if it's going to be Big Mama or Coach Walton. To you, Big Mama. Little lady, huh? Yep. Got it. You deserve an award for putting up with all of us for so many years. Thank you for opening up your home. Thank you for the spaghetti dinners, which we still love to this day. Thank you for lending us your husband. But most of all, thank you for all the support you've shown all of us for so many years. Thank you very much. Coach, you always preached, don't waste it. first tournament, we were printing up stuff, said don't waste it because we remembered. And I believe with all my heart that all of us that have ever been involved in this have met that challenge. We're all on a mission to not waste a second, to forget about all the noise and focus on what's important. So we say thank you. We thank you for your leadership, your mentoring, and most of all, your friendship. It means a lot to all of us. We know you and Big Mama look forward to the tournament every year, and we are proud to honor you in a way that we believe will have a positive effect on Topeka West football for years to come. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I can't get out of here without having a shameless plug for June 22nd, 2019, Frank Walton Classic. Donors, golfers, volunteers, again, thank you very much. We are humbled by this distinction. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Gotta wonder how many tons of spaghetti are served up over the years with that crew. I'm glad that grocery bill was not mine. You can tell why it was a great football team when you consider all they've done. Started from nothing but a 90, and that's a tribute to Coach Walton and a tribute to the people on the committee. They have a legacy that will last a long time. Our next inductee, Coach Callen, unfortunately left this world too soon, but the lives he touched as a coach, teacher, and human being live on. He will be introduced by his friend and coaching colleague, Chris Perry.
Okay, first thing I need to do is to apologize. When Tyke called me and said, Coach, will you introduce for induction into the 2018 Hall of Fame, myself and my dad, I sit around and I start writing these speeches, and I thought, Tyke told me a couple minutes, Coach Mariana told me 5, and so I wrote these speeches and I thought, okay, that's about 5 minutes. And then I'm timing my speech, and it was like 17. And so I realized when the kids in my class say, Mr. Perry, you talk way too much. And I'm like, well, I'm just telling these short stories. And they're like, yeah, you start a story, and then we come back 2 days later and you're still telling the same story. So I promise I'll keep this as short as I possibly can, but I do want to make sure that I do Coach Callen, honor and make sure I do it right for him. So, I never got to watch Coach Callen coach baseball at Topeka West. During baseball season, of course, I was a track coach, and we're having varsity or JV track meets every time they had a baseball game. So I never got to watch him coach baseball. I got to watch him, with the Golden Giants. I got to watch him when he was out at Rossville. I never saw him coach at Topeka West. So when I'm talking about Coach Callen, it has to be from what I know, and that was when we coached together coaching football. I do know that when I think about coaches, and when I think about football coaches, when I think about the greatest football minds I've ever been around, conversation. When it comes to just football in general, it's John Hadel, who was a coach at KU, and then it was Warren Seitz, who coached here for a lot of years. They both know more about football than anybody I've ever been around. When it came to defensive football, if you ever sit and talk with Dennis Carroll and talk football with him, he knew more about defensive football. I don't know if there's anybody on the planet Earth that knows more about defensive football than Dennis Carroll. When it came to offensive football, however, one of the things that Coach Callen used to always make me so angry. He would be running the scout team, against the #1 defense, and I'd be calling defense. And, you know, we were pretty good. It's like every year when you look at the city stats, Topeka West was always near the top on defense. You know, I'm not trying to give myself a pat on the back. I've learned, you know, that it's not, you know, the X's and O's, it's the Jills and the Joes that make a coach successful. And so, you know, we just had a lot of great athletes, especially that 2002-2003 class. But Coach Callen would sit over there with that scout team, and they would just gash us, and he'd just be over there laughing and laughing. And I'm like, man, you know, what are you doing? He just knew so much about offensive football. It doesn't matter what defense you were in, he knew a way to defeat you. And so, you know, that is my context for knowing what kind of coach Coach Callen was. The other thing that Coach Callen brought to the table was he was a fierce, fierce competitor. He was very loyal. He defended his players, he defended his colleagues, he defended his friends with a lot of passion and fire. And there were a couple of instances that I can talk about. There's some that I can't, but there's some I can talk about here. The first was, and you can talk to Coach Sykes about this, he remembers, we used to go down to Oklahoma State football camps. And there was this team from Stillwater, Oklahoma, that they had, we were sophomores, our kids were sophomores, and they had these seniors that were being, you know, recruited by, you know, Oklahoma and Texas, and their quarterback went to Oklahoma State. I mean, they were just really, really good. The Oklahoma State football coaches drove their coaches around in, you know, in golf carts, and, you know, we'd be practicing over in the North 40, and, you know, have to walk about 1.5 miles to get to the field, and they're driving their coaches around in golf carts and just, you know, treating them like they own the place. And so we were scrimmaging them as a contact camp. We were scrimmaging them, and they were, you know, our kids were sophomores, their kids were seniors. Now that turned around in a couple of years when our kids were getting ready to be seniors, we kind of gave it to them. But this year they were just handing it to us, and they, you know, were talking a lot of smack and, you know, being disrespectful to West. And so, you know, I'm calling the defense, and we're getting gashed, and I'm getting angry. And so me and one of their coaches are getting ready to have words, or we're having words, and we're getting ready to take it to the next step. And, you know, a bunch of their coaches came over, and, you know, most of our coaches had left because we were done. And so I'm sitting there, and I think I'm going to have to fight, you know, all of the Stillwell coaches. And I look to the side, and there's, you know, Coach Callen right beside me, and it's like, okay, I guess we're going to go. But, you know, he was sitting there to defend me, ready to fight alongside me. He was one of those people, one of those friends where, you know, you say a good friend is the friend you call if you're sitting in jail and you want to get bailed out, but your best friend is the guy sitting beside you. That was Coach Callen. He was the guy that's going to be sitting beside you in jail if you ever did something to be arrested. The other story, we were in the state playoffs, 2002, and we were at St. Thomas Aquinas. And they were not very nice, especially to us. But we were done with our warm-ups, and I always like to stay back and watch the other team do their last-minute warm-ups just to kind of get a feel what was going on. And so we were going to the locker room to have our last little word with our team. And so I'm trying to walk out of the gate, and they close the gate and won't let me out. And I'm like, you know, I'm a coach. I need to go talk to my team. And no, you're not. They lock the gate and won't let me out. And here comes Coach Callen coming back. And, you know, again, I thought, you know, I'm yelling at this person that's trying to lock the gate, and then here comes Coach Callen yelling at the person trying to lock the gate, and then here comes a police officer, and I'm like, okay, here we go again. You know, thought we were going to get arrested. But Coach Callen was just there, again, trying to protect me, trying to make sure, you know, as a colleague, as a friend, I wasn't in it alone. And that's the way he was with, you know, his players. That's the way he was with his friends, his colleagues. And that's the way he coached. A lot of passion. You know, a lot of times Coach Sykes is yelling at him, you know, get back, because he's yelling at the refs, trying to protect our players. He was just, again, a fierce, fierce competitor. You know, I wish he was here still with us. He had so much to offer to young people. I wish he was still here. You know, the time he was with us, the time that I got to coach with him was nothing but a blessing. He's one of the best friends I've ever had. Again, he's one of the the best offensive football minds I've ever been around. I think, that inducting him into the Hall of Fame not only honors Brett Callen, not only honors the Callen family, but I think it honors Topeka West. It shows that we've had, and we continue to have at this school, tremendous athletes, tremendous coaches, people with character, people with passion, people with heart, and it does me great, great pleasure, honor to introduce, although he's not here with us. I think Tyke is going to come and accept for Coach Callen. It does me a great honor to introduce to you Brett Callen, 2018 inductee to the Topeka West Athletic Hall of Fame.
I didn't make 2 speeches. I don't know. Coach Barry, did you make 2 speeches?
Yes.
Okay, he's got 2. I got 1. So I'm just going to say thank you on behalf of my father. I know he'd be honored to be here to see all you guys. He considered family and friends. So thank you guys for coming, and thank you to the Topeka West staff for putting me in the Hall of Fame. I also agree with Coach. I think it's something he'd be really proud of. And so thank you again, and I'll say a few more words here. Thank you.
Everybody liked Brett Callen. I never heard anyone say anything negative about him. I used to have a lot of fun with Brett, jockeying back and forth and saying things. I used to tell him, he had a brother that was really good cross-country runner, maybe city champion, I'm not sure. But I used to tell Brett, the genetics are there. You wasted your time with football and baseball. You should have been a runner. And what did I get for that? That silly little dimpled smile, and that was the end of it. Our next inductee is 1980 graduate Sarah Yeager. She is the current Topeka West record holder in the 800, and she will be introduced by her friend Zoe Seaborn.
I asked Sarah, "What would you like me to say?" And she said simply, "I remember the beauty, how effortless it all was. I would like to be reminded of Kansas, of home." Although her running career was a short time compared to years now lived, her time at Topeka West and with Coach Schwab were so impactful. Running seemed to shape and direct every aspect of her being. And running, like all sports, has now become a metaphor for her life well lived. Here's Sarah's top 10 Topeka West running metaphors. Number 1, never cut corners. It will only hurt you in the end. Number 2, pick a route that has the wind in your face on the way home. It will make you stronger when you're tired. Number 3, pick a route with hills, lots and lots of hills, and run them over and over again. It will make you work harder. Number 4, mind your time. Always be aware of time. Number 5, pick a route that's beautiful. One filled with trees, grass, and flowers. It'll make you happy. Number 6, pick a route by Megan Murphy's house on a hot summer day. She'll have water. And you need good friends along the way. Number 7, pick a route, write it down, and leave it on the kitchen table. That way your mom always knows where you're going. Number 8, pick a route that you've never run before. Explore beyond the hills and valleys. You'll not only become more curious, but more courageous too. Number 9, pick a route and run it regardless of the rain or snow. You can't always have a sunny, calm day. And remember, no matter how cold it gets, Keep your core, your heart, warm. And number 10, most important of all, never miss a day. Show up, work hard, never ever quit. So let's talk about how Sarah was showing up. After Topeka West, Sarah accepted a track and music scholarship to Wichita State University. From 1980 to 84, she was not missing a day. At one time, she held 6 Wichita State women's track and cross-country records. She was COSIDA Academic All-American Conference Athlete of the Week, along with all conference honors in both track and cross-country. She was also honored to be named women's track captain. She sang the national anthem at all Wichita State men's basketball games and sang the lead in the opera her senior year. After graduating with a degree in vocal music performance, she left another note on the kitchen table and headed out the door. Sarah performed with various theater companies all across the country and earned her Actors Equity Card. But her metaphoric running route was about to drastically change. And at the age of 25, she started her 30-year journey with rheumatoid arthritis. As she was becoming physically harder, she became an artist in residence with the Arizona Commission on the Arts. And for 12 years, her new route was playwright and director for Arizona school children. During that time, Kansas was never very far from her heart. She wrote a one-woman show, including the music, on the life of Amelia Earhart. She performed Letters from Amelia over 350 times. But as more and more joint replacement surgeries began to happen, she needed to find a different route, one that included some help from friends. So Sarah and her good friend Kathy, who's here tonight, they started their own company called the Madhouse Fine Arts Studio. MAD standing for music, art, and drama. Today, Sarah's chosen yet another route that's both beautiful and happy and mindful of time. She is grateful for every moment she gets to spend with her dad, Russell. She continues to study and sing. Yes, here at Topeka West, the door opened for Sarah, and Coach Schrag, she ran through it. I'm so very happy to say she's been my friend for the past 35 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Yeager.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to extend a big thank you to Coach Mariana and the selection committee, and of course, I would like to congratulate all of the recipients who are here tonight, both past and present. I got to tell you, it is both a surprise and an honor to be here. And I really enjoyed that reception. I got to see old friends and meet new ones, and thank you so very much. It was lovely. You know, it's been 38 years since I've been here at Topeka West, and I mean, not just since I graduated. I mean, it's been 38 years since my toes touched ground here at Topeka West. And I think more than anything tonight, I am very grateful for the opportunity just to stand up here and be able to thank Coach Schrag. You know, we were very well coached here. We were always physically ready for every race. My times improved every week under Coach Schrag. But Coach also got us mentally prepared. And how he did that was, before every cross-country race, he would give us a handout. And I have brought my handouts with me tonight. 38 years old they are indeed. And these handouts are amazing, and I hope you have time tonight that you can take a look at them, because they are remarkable. But in these handouts, Coach gives us some really good advice on what's about to happen the next day. He includes a map in here of the route. He marks every hill, because those hills are so important to a good cross-country run. Coach also tells us who our opponents are. He gives us their names. He gives us their current times. He gives us what school they're from. He also gives us the color of their uniforms. Now you got to remember that there are dozens of girls running, probably 3 times that many boys, and junior varsity. So in these pages that Coach gave us weekly, we had probably hundreds of names coming in and out of these pages on a weekly basis. Coach also tells us who our friends are, our teammates, Julie Browning, whom you all know, and Susie Guerin, and what it takes for us to win as a team. So it begs the question, why have I kept these all these years? Because it reminds me that when preparation meets opportunity, amazing things can happen. And I applied that formula to everything I did as an adult. Whether it was auditioning for a show, whether it was putting on a recital or directing a play, I was always, always prepared. Now, sometimes it didn't work out, that opportunity, and sometimes it did, but that part's life. So, Coach, I just want to thank you for that. What a beautiful lesson I learned from you. Thank you. I also want to take just a moment to thank my beautiful parents, Barbara and Russell Yeager. I get a little weepy when I talk about my folks, but they would have enjoyed tonight. I will say that. And I will tell you, as I told them so many times, it has been the honor of my life to have been their daughter. I want to thank Zoe for that beautiful introduction. She's such a beautiful job. Thank you, Zoe. We've been friends for so long. Thank you. And I want to thank Kathy, my +1 on this journey home, my Madhouse compadre. We've had a lot of fun for 20 years. Kathy, thank you. So getting back to West, we have great teachers here. We had great coaches here. And I found the 2 great loves of my life here. I found my singing and I found my running. And it all started right here, this remarkable, amazing, and incredibly unexpected journey that turned out to be my life. I want to thank you for this honor. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak. And I want to remind everyone that I'm a very proud 1980 graduate of Topeka West High School. Thank you so, so much.
There's a reason we coach, and a reason we do it for so many years, because this is an example of some of the feedback that we get, some of the satisfaction that we get in our job. Her college coach, J.K. Ford, was a very good friend of mine. And at a meeting a couple of years ago, he says, "How's Sarah Yeager doing?" And I was embarrassed that I didn't really know at that time, I hadn't kept up well enough. But we sat and talked for a little while about that, and he had as high an opinion of her as I did. You know, Sarah mentioned Yeager, Browning, Guerin, 1, 2, 3. They were the scourge of the city, the scourge of the league. They went 1, 2, 3, 4 times, including city, league, and regional. Well, not regional, city and league, Junction City and Emporia. And that's quite an accomplishment cross country to go 1, 2, 3 every time. And it was so much fun. Might also say that Sarah was not able to really fulfill her abilities in high school, because middle of her senior year, she contracted mono, and that kept her from competing in the latter half of the season. So she missed the state meet her senior year because of that illness. But what an ambassador. You get the 1980 school yearbook, she's all over the place. Debate, drama, music, sports, everything. She's just a complete person. Our next inductee is 1985 graduate Jim Dinas. I had on the schedule, he was being introduced by Jay Gomez, but is that not the case?
Correct.
I'm sorry? Okay, well, I tell you, you had a coach, a great one, who is not a stranger to public speaking. And let's let Frank Walton say a few words.
was stumbling.
Yes.
This is what was going through my head. We had David Boone as our field goal kicker, and I was honestly thinking, well, if I fall, we could still win the game.
You're lying.
No, and honestly, something came in my head, and you're going to think I'm all crazy, but something told me to stand up. So I stood up and ran in, and thank the Lord, and the rest is history. So, but thank you, Coach. I think I first want to thank some people that have traveled a long distance to be here tonight. So Steve Mallory, Steve Harley, teammates, friends of mine, so thank you guys for coming from Arizona to be here. Brian White, who's a high school teammate, and I also played football with Brian in Coffeyville. Brian lives in Texas, so Brother John lives in Omaha, so thank you, John, for coming. Jason, thank you for coming. So this has kind of been a family affair for me with everybody coming back and just kind of revisiting those days of 1984, 85. Mom and Dad, thank you, and love you guys. And Jim and Callen, my two kids, sitting next to my parents, thank you for being here, and I promise I won't embarrass you too much. So what do you want to know about a kid from Topeka West that went on and played at Boston College? Here's the story, Coach. I actually accepted to go to Coffeyville. Dick Foster was the coach at the time, and Coffeyville was the top 3 in the nation school. So I didn't get any major college offers, so I thought, okay, I'll go down there, and if I don't make it, I still wanted to play football. And I was just going to walk on someplace. But Coach, do you remember when you took me in your office and you said K-State had a scholarship for you, and it was the last scholarship, and there's a kid, I can't think of his name, I think it was Martin Douglas from Lawrence, and then he decided he wanted to go to KU, and so they want to offer you the scholarship. And my buddy Steve Mallory, who was all-state, all-city, and we had a deep friendship, and I thought about it, Steve, and I've already committed to Coffeyville, and I thought that at that time, for whatever reason, I decided to go to Coffeyville and not go to K-State. I don't know why I made that decision, but I thought that that was the path that I needed to go on. I think it turned out okay. Son Robbie Walton followed me the year after, and Robbie went on to play. I think he was a cornerback, or was he a free safety at Northwestern. And so it was fun to be reunited with them at Coffeyville. And the funny story about Steve Mallory, all our stories are intertwined. All these people that have been inducted into this Hall of Fame, they're all intertwined with Steve and I. Steve goes to K-State, and I'm at Coffeyville. Guys, I didn't know this, but Coffeyville ran the wishbone. And if you know anything, I was a receiver, okay? So when I went to Coffeyville, the wishbone is 3 running backs and 1 receiver, okay? So I was like, wow, I'm not going to get a lot of opportunities to get passes. Coach at Coffeyville running the Dick Foster bone that he was running there. So I got lucky. Steve was unhappy at K-State his freshman year. They brought in another coach. Coach Dickey left, and they brought in Coach Parrish. And Steve, I really think that me getting to K-State was a lot I credit to you, because if it wasn't for you going to Coffeyville, I actually had Steve talk to Coach Foster, and he was unhappy at K-State at that time, so Coach Foster changed the offense. And we went from the bone to a standard offense with 2 receivers, and I was able to get some accolades and catch some passes and be recognized in the Jayhawk Conference that my second year there. And I have to credit my father. My father owns an advertising marketing agency, and I don't think you guys know this story, even some of my friends don't know this story, but Dick Foster told me after my second year at Coffeyville that Arkansas wasn't going to offer me a scholarship. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'll just walk on someplace, because I was still going to play football, guys. And my dad, running a marketing and advertising agency, put this kit together. I mean, no, they're doing this today. But back then, in 1987, nobody was doing this, but he put this marketing kit together, and he sent it out to 100 colleges, Division I colleges. And I received offers from, and I took visits to all these colleges. I received offers from that. University of Illinois, Washington State, UCLA, and I chose Boston College. And I chose Boston College because I remember my senior year on a Thanksgiving Day, watching Doug Flutie beat Miami. And they call it the Catholics versus the convicts game. If you remember that. But I just remember that. I just remember thinking that David versus Goliath, I've always been a champion of that. And so I chose that school. And some of my memories from Boston College is I got to play football with some guys that you may have heard of. Bill Romanowski was my roommate. Bill went on to be a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers and played with Joe Montana. Has 3 Super Bowl rings, and he went on to finish his career with Oakland Raiders. But before that, he had a 4th Super Bowl ring. He played with the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, just a lucky guy. Some other people you may have heard of that I played football with. Mark Chimera was a tight end for the Green Bay Packers, got passed from Brett Favre. And Tom Waddle, I competed with Tom. Tom Waddle was a receiver, played 5 years with Chicago Bears. You can see Tom today on the NFL Network. You can see him on there. My claim to fame, I'll just leave you with this, and my memories of what a Topeka kid could do, is I also got to meet Doug Flutie. And Darren Flutie, his brother, was a receiver, and me being a Kansas kid, being there in New England, I didn't go home for holidays, so Darren offered to take me for Easter back to his brother Doug's house. So I went, and I got to meet Doug, and I told him my memories of that game when he beat Miami, and I looked over and I saw the Heisman Trophy. So, and I wish, cell phones back then, we didn't have cell phones back then, I wish I would have had a selfie. Holding a Heisman Trophy. It was pretty funny, back in the day, he had a big screen, projector TV, and he had a picture of his family and Whitney Houston, so it's kind of dating the time. And he didn't have it enshrined or nothing, he just had it out sitting on a speaker. And he said, yeah, sure, pick it up. So my claim to fame is I got to hold Doug Flutie's Heisman Trophy. But thank you for this honor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Guess what Frank Walton taught in high school? And then you can probably do speech. Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but I knew you'd come through like you always do. Steve didn't mention, or Jim didn't mention it, he spent all his time on football. But he was on the state championship track team. He was a part of a 4x4 that won the state in 1984 when he was a junior. So he had many talents. Jason Mills, a 1984 graduate, 1994 graduate, will be our next inductee. He will be introduced by Nathan Tam, the man behind the lens, and one of the most animated coaches ever to roll beside me.
You know we're in trouble. I stand up here with all these well-spoken people, and then you get an obnoxious Coach Ham to come up here and chat. I didn't know you were going to have everybody that speaks so well, and there is a reason in this world that you coached or you played for somebody that loved coaching. Wow. I'm an old dude with babies. And every day I turn around and I preach to my boys about how cool this is. Dude, if it doesn't get any better than this, you let me know what it does. When you ask me to come here and I have myself one of my toads is going to get introduced, Coach Ham! Thank you, Coach Walton, for not firing me. Because God knows I got it. I know this ain't about me, but I'm going to tell you right now, the love that this place has. when I stand here and I think about the things, and I think about coaching through my boy, and every day I talk to them, try to help them both to get better. I don't use wasting because I can't steal every part of that, but we talk about those little moments. When I stand there and I remember a day and I'm coaching, I've been there for a while, and Coach Hanley's talking about a couple of the kids he's got. You got some good toads coming up. I said, that's great. You know that is. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, and these kids are, they're coming along and they kind of, they go through the motions, and you're thinking, how am I going to get this kid motivated and how whatever. I remember one day I'm looking over there on the football field, and I think it's like the middle of the summer. And it's hot. And I look over there, some kids running as I'm driving by. It's hot. Well, we all know what it's like. That's what you do. You suck it up. You're an athlete. You're going to play. You step up, right? If you don't like it, what do I say, boy? If you don't like losing, get better. That's all there is in it. Get better. I look over there at this kid running. I was wondering, what's that? Damn, is that new kid? Oh, man. That new kid. Huh. Well, so as we're standing there, we're thinking about it, and I watch him. And the next thing you know, it's hot. And I think, well, there he goes. We get him out there, and the kid starts playing. And as he's playing, he just keeps on doing what he needs to do. I can tell you how many times I scream out there, late in the game. Coach Walton looks over there, get him blocked, man! Get him blocked! I look out, and I can't tell you over the years, I look, and it's late in the game. Hey! Hey! I'm yelling for the guard! Hey! And the tackle, I can see a guard look at me, and I look over at one of the tackles, and the tackle shake up. They don't want to look at me. It's late in the game, you're tired. You're getting beat to death. A couple years later down the road, there's a new kid. Scream out, hey! Apparently tackles can't hear. But the guards will tell him, hey, and he whispers. And Mills will go over there and look at him. Man, I'll get a block. I'm sure I was very profound. Get a block to do whatever I got to do. And, step in the left foot or whatever in the world we got to get done. He looked at me. He looks at me. Then he proceeded to go out there and just block the tar out of the next kid, and the next kid, and the next kid. You couldn't get around him. He'd just go and go and go. Mills, slide out a little bit. We're not seeing it. Slide out. He keeps sliding out there, tackle, keep moving on the outside. Pretty soon there must have been a gap this big. That kid went on to play KU forever. And I tell you, it was the best opportunity in the world because he just did what you needed to do. He proceeded to knock a kid over. Most of us you need to get in there and poke your eyes in there. And, he'd get up and he'd help the kid back up. He'd just kind of go back and proceed to beat him up again and have a good time, I'm sure. And help him again and again and again. You don't make them like that. Everybody thinks, they're tough guys, and they got to poke them in the eyes and kick them where they're not supposed to and spit on them. Lots of people did. But I was just blown away as I watched this kid. I just don't think that we understand how some people just made it easy. There's nothing easy. But sometimes you earn. And when you earn it, it's the best feeling in the world. We're all given something. Sometimes you run. You love running. Whatever that's about. But I'm glad there's people that do, because Coach Schrock loves all of you. But sometimes you just want to play. And not everybody's made the same. So to watch this kid come, and he just smiled all the time. This smile was, he'd get up, he kind of had a little shrug. You don't have to know the numbers when you watch the game film. What do you got there? They come out of the pile and got a little shrug. That's Mills. Got a little shrug in his shoulder. You don't have to look at what number is that. Oh, he got a +2 again. I can't think of anybody that I've appreciated more. A place that I cannot appreciate more than what this place is about. When I stand there and I watch as Topeka West and all the great things that come. Coach Schwab, we love you, baby. But Coach Walton, slice to heaven, baby. They don't get any better. And for all of you, and every time I turn around and I see somebody that appreciates what happens in this program, has been the luckiest people in the whole wide world. All I can say is this is one heck of a young man. We love him dearly. Jason Mills, I don't know that anybody's more deserving. Congratulations. I am very happy for you. Thank you for letting me do that.
Secondly, if you expected a profound speech tonight, I am an offensive lineman, so we don't talk about it. So I'll do the best I can. I'd like to start by thanking Coach Shrog, Coach Mariana, everyone on the selection committee. I thank you very much for this opportunity. It's pretty surreal, to tell you the truth. I mean, like Coach is saying, I'm an offensive lineman. I just do what I'm told to do. I don't think of myself as being a good, outstanding athlete. I mean, I had opportunities, but with Coach Walton, Coach Ham, Coach Seitz, any other coach I had, they just put me in the right position. It was mainly them. It really wasn't for me. I just had a little bit of size, a little bit of talent. It wasn't for their kind of tutelage to make me the way I am when they would have got there. That's the way I kind of took all that. I still remember Coach Walton in practice, I was doing something. I can't remember what it was, and next thing I know, football hit me in the head. Bills, quit thinking, just do it. Kind of carry on to my work now. Stuff like that. It just always has been. I just do what I'm trained to do. And carry it on the whole line. My professions I've gotten into. I'd also like to go back, way back in the day. I gotta thank my mom, my dad. I don't really remember the reason why I got into football, to tell you the truth. I started playing flag football for YWCA, and I gotta thank Coach Ross. It was Miles Ross' dad. He was my first football coach, and old Marine, I believe he was. He was a drill sergeant, and that man, he taught discipline in all of us. That's why with the coach that we have to, from him to Coach Gabar, my mom wanted to kill him one time. It was Coach Gabar after, I think it was lost, I can't remember who it was, made us just, the whole practice we ran. Just ran. That taught me leadership, because I kind of got into the way of actually getting into other players, you know what's. The next day I ran so hard I had to go home almost with heat stroke, so I had to go back out with that. But things he did for me to teach me the way I am today, that kind of drive to be the best at what you're doing and don't give up to do that. Just like to thank, well, now it's weird. My son Ewan, he's a seaman Viking. I know, we're kind of traders. But I'm trying to teach all that stuff into him too. He's a sophomore, his first year, kind of starting for their varsity team this year. So I can't say enough to Coach Walton. I mean, also Big Mama, the spaghetti dinners. They were the best times. It's one of those, it's hard to put in the words. I mean, I'm humbled. I mean, just literally did what I was told to do, and I want to thank you for honoring me. Went on after that, went to Tulsa, became a Golden Hurricane. Things I learned from there continued on, and then I got to meet your older brother. I got the coach of the All-Star game, Conference USA versus Florida. He's just like you, except he has a cigar, if I remember right. I heard him talking, I was like, oh, Coach Walton's here. Oh no, it's other Coach Walton. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Just thank you very much. Deep heart.
Mild mannered Jason Mills, product of Coach Walton and Coach Ham. I don't know how you survived, but you did a good job of it. Jason spent 2 years wrestling, and then he decided to expand his horizons and went out for basketball. His last 2 years at Topeka West, wrestling's lost, basketball's gained. The thing of it is, nobody told him that basketball was supposed to be a non-contact sport. Other teams hated to see him come into the game, not because they were afraid he'd score a lot of points, but because they were afraid they'd end up on the floor. But it was fun to watch. Our next inductee is 2003 graduate Tyke Callen. He will be introduced by Chris Ferry. It must be quite an honor to be able to introduce father and son in the same night.
is an honor. Again, when I was writing my speeches, like I said earlier, this one was the hardest one because I have so many stories I wanted to tell about Tyke. I don't know if all of you know this, but the 2002-2003 class here at Topeka West in male athletics, they took first in 5A baseball, second in 5A football, third in 5A basketball, and fourth in 5A soccer. Okay, that's what type of athletes we had that year. It's guys like this, and I saw a couple other guys, Willie and Mario, walk in, and it's like, I coached a lot longer than I should have, and I blame these guys because I was always trying to recapture what they brought to us. Never could, and I should have kept coaching, but anyway, it's their fault. Okay. When I was thinking about what do I want to say, well, let me back up. First thing I want to say is this. I look out here and I see a bunch of adults, a bunch of people who appreciate Topeka West, a bunch of people who understand the history of this school, understand that there's a rich history, there's a rich history in academics, there's a rich history in athletics, but what I don't see are a lot of young people. And I really, really wish they were here because they don't know, it's not their fault, but they just don't know the history of this school. If they could sit and talk to these young people who are being inducted today and learn about the history, learn that we've had some world-class athletes at this school. Here lately we've had a rough time athletically, and they think that's the way it's always been, but they can just sit down and talk to these guys, talk to these young ladies. They can see that, again, there's a rich history. We've been very successful. It might be take a step in turning things around, here at Topeka West. I just wish there were more young people here. That being said, Tyke played football, he played basketball, and he played baseball. He's all-state in football, all-state in baseball. I know my wife and I, when we talk about Tyke playing basketball, the one thing that we used to love, we like to talk about and loved watching was Tyke setting those baseline screens. And the defender, Mike Williams, whoever, we set the screen for, that defender would come around, run into Tyke, and just collapse. And then the ref would call a foul on Tyke for just standing there. But it'd be like, that kid's on the ground, he's hurt, it had to be a foul on someone, can't call a foul on him, so they call a foul on Tyke. Kid was tough. And so, when I think about how successful Topeka West was 2002-2003, it was like this perfect storm. And if you're going to have a perfect storm, you have to have the right ingredients. And, each athlete, each coach, administrators, they all brought something that helped create that perfect storm. And so what I'm thinking about, what I want to talk about with Tyke is what did he bring? And there were two things that he brought. Number one was toughness, and number two was intelligence. Okay, this kid was tough as nails, and I found that out when he was an 8th grader. His dad brought him and a couple other guys. I remember Daniel Heflin, Daniel Armstrong, I think it was A.J. Patterson, and I believe it was Chris Wash. Brought them up to play basketball with us. We played basketball on Saturday afternoons, Saturday mornings from about 9 to 12. And so brought them up. And Tyke, these guys were all 8th graders getting ready to come to Topeka West for to be freshmen in high school. And we used to have this rule, it was called the 250 rule. If you didn't weigh at least 250 pounds, you didn't go on the lane, because if you did, you're going to get hurt. And so I remember the first time AJ got the ball, he shot from the outside. First time Daniel Heflin got the ball, he shot from the outside. First time Chris Wash got the ball, he dropped it because he couldn't catch. And the first time this guy got the ball, what do you think he did? He went right to the hole. It was like, no, this 8th grader's not doing this. So I remember rotating over and just following the hell out of him. And, excuse my language, following him very hard. So he kind of gets up and gives me the Tyke look, kind of up and down, and, gets the ball and gives it to me and says, foul. Gets the ball again. And I'm like, okay, he's not doing it again. You can tell he's just doing this little jab step. And I'm like, he's going to go to the hole again. So this time I decided I'm gonna try to take his head off, because he's not coming to the hole. So he comes to the hole, and I just like, through the ear, across the head, through the arms. I don't think I touched any of the ball. Just tried to follow him as hard as I could. He fell on the ground, got up, gave me that little look and a little smile like he's doing right now, and said, foul, and just flipped the ball back. I'm like, okay, this kid's tough. And that's the way he was his entire football career, all 4 years. Broken arm, broken arm didn't mean anything, just wrap it up, and he's smiling like, okay, I got a weapon to hit people with. And so, that's what he thought a broken arm was. And so, toughness is the one ingredient he brought to that perfect storm. The other one was intelligence. I talked about Coach Sykes and how much, he knows about football, and we meet on Sundays and we go over our scouting report, what we're going to give to the kids, and I'm not nearly as smart as Coach Sykes, so I have to watch film for all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I'd watch 18 hours of film to get ready for our coaches meeting on Sunday evenings at Coach's house. And I'd come and I'd have all these, little keys to the game of what we could do on defense, to stop whomever we're playing. And I used to always watch every play 11 times. So I could I'd try to watch every position to try to pick up little hints, how did the guard, what stance was he in? Where did he hold his hand? Just anything that I could pick up to give the players a little edge, on our opponent. Then we would meet with the team on Mondays. It would always make me so angry because I'd come in and 18 hours of film and I have all this information and Tyke was the defensive captain and he would talk, I would signal the place to him, so I'd go to him, talk to him about it, and he'd sit there and he'd go, Coach, number 54, when he's in a stance and his hand is right here, that means he's going to pull, but if his hand's right here, that means he's going to block straight. I'm like, okay, I watched 18 hours of film to pick that up, and this guy knows this, watching film for maybe an hour, he already knows that. It used to make me so angry because I had to work so hard, and he already knew that stuff. He just knew so much about football. He could play every position, and he did. He played quarterback, he played receiver, he played fullback, linebacker, he could play D-end. He tried to be a kicker. he was our place kicker, but he was terrible. I'm sorry, he was good at everything else, but he was terrible. But this guy, again, he brought toughness to that perfect storm. He brought intelligence to that perfect storm. He was a three-sport athlete, and it doesn't say this on the press release, and we kind of forget, but he also ran track. Okay? He came, and he would run track, and he didn't come like, most people who do track as a fourth sport, they throw the javelin or run the 100, something easy. This kid comes over and like, I want to run the quarter, I want to run the 400. I'm like, man, all you do is run the 60-foot bases and spit seeds. You can't run the quarter. That's a tough person to score a race. He goes, I can do it. And so he comes out, hardly any practice, and he's one of the best quarter runners we have on the team. And that's just how tough he was. This is not in the press release, but this guy was a four-sport athlete, and he ran one of the toughest races on the track, the 400, without hardly any practice. So, when you look at Tyke, and you think, this guy's a great athlete, tough, he's smart, and all that stuff is true, and he's being inducted to the Topeka West Hall of Fame because of his athletic prowess. But another thing that's not in the press release, and the reason that I'm most proud of Tyke, is this is one of the best human beings I've ever met. My wife can tell you, people that I talk to can tell you, when I talk about the best people I've ever known, when I talk about my Mount Rushmore of human beings, Tyke Callen is always on that list. He's a great athlete. He really, really is. But Courtney, you married not just a great athlete, you married a great man. He's one of the best people you could ever meet. If you don't know him, take some time tonight to say hi, talk to him. He is really a present from God. And he's one that you need to all, open and enjoy because he's an awesome young man. And it makes me proud, like it was when I introduced his father. It makes me proud to say that here is Tyke Callen, 2018 inductee to the Topeka West Hall of Fame.
He's a very relatable guy. So I prepared a few remarks. I usually just shoot off the cuff what I figured I'd put a few things on paper today. Thank you first off to all that contributed in any way to my success that I've experienced. First, my family had a huge representation over here. I really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Friends from Kansas City drove in, so that's very special. Appreciate that. All the sacrifices so many have made to set me up for a successful path. I have felt surrounded by love and support every step of the way, and that makes all the difference. Whether it's Coach Straub for you other men, Coach Perry, Coach Seitz, family members, I've been surrounded by support, and that makes all the difference. So many to thank, but I better get on because I don't want my 5 minutes to be up there. I'm excited to be here. Like I said, to be surrounded by so many loving and caring family is motivating, inspiring, and it feels good. To be recognized and honored, many years of sacrifice and money and traveling and hard work, and it really feels good to be back here in this auditorium with you all tonight. I know my dad's with us. He's probably telling stories somewhere in the back, making people laugh, reminiscing about all the great memories that sports created and also brought into our lives. So, props. Got some advice one time from a commencement speaker, which reminded us of the 3 S's, which are be short, be sincere, and be seated. So I'll keep that in mind here for the next few minutes. I want to read a short quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Which makes me think of 2 of the biggest influences and mentors in my life, my father and also Coach Perry. To me, they epitomize what it means to serve others, not without fault, but always with best intentions. Countless young men and women have been positively impacted by these 2 men and many other coaches here in the audience tonight. And I'm proud to be here tonight representing my father with that in mind. They're relationship builders. They care. They love serving and supporting and doing whatever it takes to help young people succeed. And I admire that. I try to emulate that every day at work in my job today. 3 things that come to mind when I'm thinking back to my time here at Topeka West. First, perseverance and resilience. Haven't had a lot of mention of our record for the first few years that we were here, but it was a struggle for the first few years. We won 1 game one year, a couple the next, 4 my junior year. By the time we were seniors, we were 10-3 and state runner-up. Second is pride and passion. As Coach Perry mentioned earlier about my dad, I'll mention another quick story here in a minute, but it was relentless pride and passion. And third was love for one another. More than the sports outcomes or the records or whatever, is the relationships that we build that will last a lifetime. Quick story about pride and passion. Building on what Coach Perry said earlier, unknowingly. But as a sophomore at Salina Central, where we'd eventually walk off the field as state champions, as seniors, I was pitching, and if anybody ever came to any of our games, I was pitching. I'm pretty emotional on the mound. My dad was too from the dugout. He starts arguing balls and strikes with one of his favorite I-70 league umpires, and he gets tossed. An inning later, as I remain fired up on the mound, I hit a batter and promptly yell, "I've got 2 more," in reference to the batters they had hit in the innings previously. Of course, I got tossed. Next thing you know, my dad and I are both sitting on the fence outside of the park, wondering how in the hell this just happened. Well, we let our pride and passion out, and it cost us this time. But I believe we would both look back now on that experience and think despite that moment got the best of us, that pride and passion would be what propelled us to many of the successes we would experience in the future together. Dad used to like a quote from Vince Lombardi. Many of you probably know it. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Well, I disagree respectfully a little bit. Winning is great, but it's the relationships and the memories and the lessons that sports teach us that we must carry forward. In closing, I want to challenge you all to think about that MLK quote. What are you doing for others? It is in service we find our greatest happiness, and we will all have the power to be positive impacts on those we come in contact with every day. With that in mind, I want to thank you again to all those that have done so much for me and provided me all the opportunities I've had this far along. I mentioned my family. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Topeka West staff for putting on this event and all the behind-the-scenes work that's gone into making this a special event each year. And I want to challenge you all to think about that quote, and I promise to carry that torch forward as well in service of others. And hopefully I can make a similar impact as Coach Perry, my dad, many other men in my life that have made a significant impact on me. So congrats to all the other inductees, and thank you for listening.
21 years ago, in the latter 1990s, I saw a disturbing trend in our athletic programs in the fact that lots of kids were getting outside advice that they needed to specialize in sports. They needed to become either a baseball player or either a football player and work on that year round. And I obviously did not believe in that. And so the other thing that was happening is that these kids that were specializing did not have role models except for kids in their own sports. And so the Topeka West Hall of Fame was born with the idea of rewarding athletes who were 2- and 3-sport athletes and creating role models for future generations. Ty Callen is the example of exactly the person I was thinking of to be that role model. As a 3-sport athlete, his favorite sport was the one that was in season. And you can't ask more than that. Our next inductee is 2010 graduate Alex North, who chose to showcase his talents locally at Washburn University after a stellar high school career here at Topeka West. He will be introduced by the coach who took them to a runner-up finish in state competition, Matt Hundley.
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you guys for everything you've done as far as the committee goes, obviously for Alex and everybody else who got inducted. I think back to that golf tournament, Nick, I think we might have been on the same team when it was 27 degrees out. I think we found something in your bag, I believe, that kept us warm that night. We played pretty well that day as far as I remember. So. But congrats to everybody else who got in the Hall of Fame tonight. It's good to see familiar faces out here, a lot of people that I've worked with, and this is a great place. I'm honored to be here tonight to introduce high school class 2010 inductee Alex North. I can still remember in the spring of 2006 when I was fortunate enough to be offered the head basketball job here, and I told her going to have a good team, but you never know in 501, you never know where the kids are going to go. You think they're going to come to your school, they may transfer somewhere else, you just never know. But I was told that Alex was the king of that class. After a good summer and fall workouts and weights, I was optimistic, but still hesitant, knowing we might have to rely on a 15-year-old kid to compete against other seniors in one of the toughest leagues in the state of Kansas. It didn't take long after practice started that winter to figure out that this kid was going to be special. Eventually become one of the top players to ever come through Topeka West and the state of Kansas. Although he was young, needed to add weight, you know, we joke about as a staff, he looked like a baby deer out there, he was so skinny. Eventually, after improving his basketball skills and continued to work in the gym, his ability and his work ethic was second to none. I can't remember, Alex, I can't really see because this light's so bright, but Alex, I can't remember how many times I called you soft in practice through those 4 years. You never really were soft, but it always pissed you off, and you're a hell of a lot better player after I said that. He would push himself every day, which is one of the reasons he continued to get better, and one of the main reasons we got better. He continued to work, obviously, over the next 3 years, starting focus on getting stronger, and eventually he started the remainder of his career. This hard work would pay off for him individually. He's eventually named All-City, All-Centennial Centennial League, All-State his senior year. Obviously, I felt like he deserved it before then, averaging 17 points and 10 rebounds a game, eventually becoming the City Player of the Year. Although Alex put up very good career numbers at Topeka West, it didn't always translate to wins. Those first 3 years were pretty rough. I wish John Ostrich was here tonight. He was one of the guys that hired me, and I'm glad that he kept me on staff for one more year. There's no question we had struggles for those first 3 years. Numerous games late that we just couldn't win them at the end. Just couldn't make those big shots, make those winning plays, or find a way to close them out. But these kids kept competing, kept working on their game, didn't quit, and didn't transfer because they believed in each other and because they believed in our staff. Then senior year, finally paid off with Alex leading the way. I remember a stretch of games at home at the end of the year and again in sub-state where Alex continued to hit the big shots to will us to win each of those nights. Eventually we got to the 5A state championship game where we lost to Miege, which happened to be a team full of Missouri kids. What a special year. What a special year. What a special group. After that season, Alex went on to Washburn on a basketball scholarship where he ended up being 15th all-time in scoring and 5th all-time in rebounds, which led to him also being an all-conference player. Alex, I'm honored to stand up here tonight and introduce you to Topeka West Hall of Fame. I want to thank you and your parents for letting me coach you so hard and you responding in the right way. Without you, we wouldn't have had the success we had here at Topeka West. I also want to thank you for our relationship, and I want you to know I'm most proud of what you've become as a man. Finally, thanks for being a great representative of Topeka West. You've done so much for this school. You're a coach's dream, and congrats to you on this night. It's your night. You deserve it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex North.
Thanks, Coach. That introduction and those kind words were, they're a lot nicer than the speeches I remember at halftime. Back in the day. I know we've had quite a few speeches tonight, so I'm going to try and keep my comments brief. First off, I'd just like to say I'm very honored and humbled to be here tonight among such a tremendous group of people. I'd like to congratulate the other honorees and their families. And while I don't know many of you personally, I've been looking forward to sharing the stage with you all for quite some time now. I'd also like to thank Coach Schrag, Coach Mariana, and Topeka West administration, and also the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for obviously making this very special night possible. So, thanks to you guys. I'd also want the selection committee and really all that are gathered here tonight that I do not take this prestigious honor lightly. In fact, I've already instructed my family and my girlfriend who couldn't make it tonight that moving forward, they are to address me as Distinguished Honoree Mr. North. Time for Christmas presents, birthday cards. There will be no exceptions. In all seriousness, it's truly great to be back in the place where I found my first true love, basketball. I was a freshman at Topeka West in 2006, some 12 years ago, and when I typed that out, I kind of had to double check the math was right, because I just knew how fast the time flies, and I think that's probably something a lot of us here can relate to. I think what it means is I'm starting to get a little bit old. Coach, I've got bad news for you. I'm getting old and you're getting really old. I have a great relationship with Coach. I was very lucky to have him and his staff here at Topeka West during my career here. As Coach Humley mentioned, we were both new in 2006. And our team went through some tough years, especially my freshman and sophomore year. I think we won a combined 6 games those 2 years. But Coach never gave up on us, no matter the record or the score. His passion and his energy were contagious. And once we started to believe in ourselves as a team, it was truly remarkable to see our hard work pay off with the state title run my senior year. Coach taught us to attack adversity. And ultimately, as a team, we weren't successful until we bought in and believed in that philosophy. And that's still believe in today. So Coach, thanks for always pushing me to be the best I could be, for supporting me when I made mistakes, and more importantly, for calling me out when I needed to be better. So thank you. Yeah. As we all know, basketball is not a team sport. I wouldn't be here tonight without the many teammates I had during my time here at Topeka West. So I'd really like to share this honor with them. It's an extensive list of names, but each and every one of them made an impact on me in some form or fashion. Most important of all, we shared many memories I know many of us will never forget, and to me that is truly the best part about high school athletics. I've also been blessed to have not one, but two wonderful sets of supporting parents. My dad, Bob, and my stepmom, Brenda, and my mom, Lisa, and my stepdad, Larry, each of whom have impacted my life in their own special way. To you all, I say thank you for your sacrifices that have allowed me to chase my dreams, for attending all my games, whether it be AAU, high school, or college, for providing me encouragement when I needed that little extra push, for helping me be brave in the face of injuries and setbacks, for loving me whether I won or lost. And above all else, thank you for being the best parents that a kid could ever ask for. I love you guys. It's also worth noting that my dad, Bob North, is also a Topeka West alum. And ever since I was a kid, I heard about this story of him hitting the game-winning shot in the dungeon against our crosstown rival, Topeka High. He's deep in the right baseline, about 15 feet from the hoop. Tie game, clock's running down, the crowd's going wild. He calmly catches it, turns over his right shoulder, goes up for the jump shot, and swoosh, just as time expires. You know, sports can play such a unique role in the bond between a father and a son. And I can't tell you how many times I shot that same exact shot in our driveway growing up. As a kid, I wanted to be just like you and make you proud. And while I'm 26 now, and I'm not trying to emulate that same corner jump shot anymore, I am still trying to be like you. And I hope that one day I can become the father that you were to me. By the way, I've always just kind of believed that story, so if anyone in the audience here tonight, please come and see me after this. Lastly, I'd like to thank my little sister, Aaliyah, although she's not so little anymore. You know, I don't know exactly what it's like having an older brother, but what I do know is how many times you've had to wake up early to leave for one of my sporting events. How many times you've missed a party to head out of town for a tournament, and how many times you've had to deal with a grumpy older brother if I lost a game. Sis, it's been absolutely amazing watching you grow up into such a loving and caring person. And although work gets in the way more times than not, nothing makes me happier than coming and watching you play sports of your own now. Guess what I'm trying to say, sis, is that your brother is really, really proud of you. Excuse me, that's all right. Distinguished honoree, Mr. North, is really, really proud of you. Truly, it's an honor to be here tonight. I've loved just kind of catching up with everyone, and it brings back a lot of great memories. So I appreciate this honor. Thank you all, and thanks for coming.
Distinguished honoree, Mr. North. Thank you for leaving your skills at Topeka so we could see you 8 years instead of 4. I doubt that anybody put in more varsity time on that Topeka West floor than you did over your 4-year career. To finish off our inductions tonight, we have the 6A State Championship Girls Tennis Team for 1994. Undefeated, I might add, with an undefeated individual state champion and the third place doubles team. Here to talk about the outstanding team of girls is their coach, Hall of Famer Corey Wilson, already in the Sports Hall of Fame and will be honored Sunday for the Owen Henson Distinguished Teacher Award. So Corey.
Here for so long that I never really knew what it was like to come home. And you know, I've been gone for a year and a half, and it feels like it's just awful. I just love coming back here, and so I've even started substituting, and so it's been great to get here. Before I introduce these girls, I want to introduce their parents because they were incredible support, and there is no doubt in my mind that we were successful because of them. So if you guys could stand up just to let people. Well, then we get away with a lot of things. And I love these girls like they were my own. They've been a favorite of mine forever, and you know how sometimes things will fade on you. You think, okay, I know that, you know, not with these girls. It was just like it was yesterday when I saw them tonight. And I remember just a couple things, and then I'm going to let them talk, because this is about them. This isn't about me. Joe already mentioned how well they did. The one thing he didn't mention was they posted an 82% match rate. I kept those weird things too. Joe taught me that. You know, he'd have all these bizarre percentages, and nobody seemed to understand what they meant with Joe. And I started doing it with tennis. And that 82% rate means that on the average in a 6-game set, they won 6-2. That, you know, it wasn't close a lot of the time with these girls. They were that good, and we were very deep. All of these girls had varsity experience for us, and I have stories about each one of them. And maybe I'll share them or not. It depends on how much time that they talk. But I wanted to mention just one thing, and that was I got on a really weird kick that year with them about fitness kick, and I wouldn't let them eat certain things. I wouldn't let them do, you know, they couldn't have soda. They couldn't do all this stuff, and their parents supported it. And we started feeding them out of trunks of cars, I remember that, because they wouldn't give them hamburgers or anything like that. And you can see it paid off. They look great. I don't know what happened to me. I mean, I had a heart attack 3 years ago. I'm wearing hearing aids. I lost my hair. And but they look awesome, and they look just like they did when they played here, and I'm sure they probably could. And so I want to give, rather than me yak, girls, take it away. You talk what you want, and those of you who don't want to talk, then I'll finish it off.
We drew straws. I got the short one. And I'd like to give a very facetious thank you to all the speakers and everyone who's spoken tonight for doing such a great job, because that put a lot of pressure on us up here, being the very last ones to come up and to give our thanks. To the selection committee, of course, we're all very humble. I too, famer. And so I plan on using that a lot as well. So I hadn't thought of the distinguished, but I mean, if my first name is Danielle, why not? I mean, high school is tough. High school is very hard, and it's hard to find your niche sometimes, and you don't necessarily know where you belong. But tennis gave me, and I think for a lot of my friends that are standing here with me and my teammates, I think it gave all of us that niche. It was that spot where we came together and we felt like we fit in and we felt like we belonged, and we didn't just become teammates anymore, we became family. We were so close even that several of us would go swimming at Coach Corey and Carla's house, and their son Alex, who I believe is now a pastor, yes, would feed us half-eaten chicken nuggets dipped in ketchup while he was naked as we swam.
My son was naked
may have been catcalling a few, lots of good-looking guys and girls on accident on occasion. I stand here and I'm so emotional because this team meant so much to so many of us. And our parents, I mean, Corey's right. Our parents were at every single tennis match. They fed us, they made sure that we had everything that we needed. We wouldn't have been able to do half of what we accomplished without our families. We toilet papered each other's houses. We loaded up on carbs and Andy's Mints at Olive Garden before. I don't know if that was on our diet or not, but it had to have helped, right? I mean, yes. So there's my plug for Olive Garden. I don't know what to say. Thank you's really not enough. I actually am a tennis coach right now for a high school, and every time I step onto the court with my kids, I think, what would Corey do right now? What would he say? What would he do? And when my kids are acting just a little too teenager-ish and doing just dumb stuff, I'm like, I think to myself, well, this is payback. That's exactly what this is. This is karma. For those of you that believe in karma, I definitely do now. He never raised his voice. He didn't yell at us. He didn't have to. The way that he spoke to us and what he expected from us, it always made us want to go out and perform to the best of our ability for him. And he never had to say a word. He never, ever got on to us because he knew that when we were out there, we were doing everything that we could for him. If you got hurt, you could bet he would be the last one to you. He wasn't going to run, and he'd stop your mama from running to you as well, because he didn't want you to see the panic in his eyes, and so he would walk to you. That's something that I do now for my players. My heart is in my stomach as I walk to them, but I do it because that's what Corey did. And Coach, I just want to say thank you, because you did so much for all of us, and you'll just never know, I don't think, the impact that you had on our lives. And Owen, I have one story I have to tell about Owen. Owen was Corey's dad, and he was my very first tennis coach here at Topeka West. I don't know how old Owen was at the time, but he was old. I mean, we can all attest to that. And Owen couldn't see very well. So Owen would drive our van. He would be on the center line. And I would say, Owen, you need to be between the lines. And he'd yell, I am between the lines. There's a line over there, and there's a line over there. And I'd say, but Owen, you have to be between these. He's like, no, you go back to sitting. And he would make me just sit back in my seat, and I'd look in the back, and the girls would be back there praying that we made it. Honest to God. So thank you all so much who had a part in our success. We're very thankful to be up here. We're very humbled, and we're very honored. Thank you all.
To thank Topeka West for this honor, Coach Corey, for the endless coaching hours that you put in and put up with us girls during those high school years. Sorry. I would personally like to thank my parents for all their love and support and their time and investing their time and money and putting into support for one of the passions in my life, tennis. I think we as a team would like to as well thank all of our parents again for all of their support as well throughout the years. If someone would have told me at the beginning of that season that we would possibly be state contenders, let alone state champs, I would have told them that they were crazy. I don't think any of us realized how special of a team we had at the beginning of the season, but we definitely made memories that year. What I remember most about that season is how much fun we had on and off the court. We spent a lot of time in the van traveling to our matches, and I'm sure there were many conversations Coach would much rather not have heard talking about, but there's definitely never a dull moment with our group. But as much as fun as we had off the court, knew that when we set foot on the court, it was time to take care of business, and because we all had a job to do. I think our record speaks for itself as to how much we wanted to succeed as a team, to make our coach and fans proud, and to represent Topeka West Chargers. I can honestly say being a part of this championship team is an honor and one of the highlights of my high school career that I always cherish forever. And again, we'd just like to thank you, committee, for this honor, and Corey for all the great memories. Thank you.
I know this is not going to shock my family that I have one more thing to say. My husband's probably like, dear Lord. Being a coach right now of a high school team, we play against some of the top teams in Arkansas, and their top players don't play some of the smaller schools because they don't think that it's worth their time. We had May Griffin. May Griffin was ranked nationally, and she played #1 for us that year. And she went to every single match, and she played against every single #1 player that the other teams had. It didn't matter how big or how small their school was. And coach expected her to play, and she practiced with us. We weren't at Meg's level. We were all attaining. We were trying so hard to attain what Meg had, and Meg never ever acted like she was better than us. She didn't act like she was better than anyone else. She didn't lose a game that entire season, which cost my dad a lot because she had bet my dad that she wouldn't lose a game, and so at the end of the season when she didn't, he had to buy the whole team dinner. And so it really worked out to our benefit. But I think that speaks so highly of our coach, that not only did he make her play, but she came to every practice and she was one of us, even though she was at her own level. You know, and I think that speaks volumes, that it didn't matter who we were playing against. Meg was always there, and we always listened to Chattahoochee in the van on the way home. So that's another great thing right there.
I just want to say thank you again. These girls, I purposely asked Mr. Mariani to consider this team after I retired because I wanted to spend time trying to get a hold of these girls because they're so humble. I just knew it was going to be difficult to try to get them, and if I were working every day, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to get this kind of a turnout. And so I'm so proud of them. Like I say, I love them like my own, and I thank you for listening to them. May Griffin is in California. She couldn't be here. And our other girls in California, the three that aren't here, 2 of them are in California and one's in Hawaii. They're not on vacation, that's where they work. And so I'm really pleased and proud of this bunch. And I have to say also to the other honorees tonight, so many of you hold great spots in my heart, and you know who you are. And thanks again for the opportunity to share with you tonight. Oh, okay. I'm sorry I didn't do that, did I? Now, I don't know their real names now. Because I was, one of the parents said, you're going to have to get their married names, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm not doing it. That sounds like you, Frank. Jennifer Williams. Eckhart?
Yep.
Eckhart. Jennifer Williams. I call her Jill Jennifer. She was an I-70 League champion her senior year after she broke her arm watching your football team out in Salina, Frank. She tripped over the railing to go out to congratulate you guys on your win. She broke her arm. So she didn't play the whole season except the last week. So that shows you. She won the league. That shows you what kind of a coaching impact I had. She didn't hear anything from me all year and won the league. Lindsay Rowe. Hoshlat, right? Lindsay Rowe, again, a great doubles player. She was an I-70 League champion, and one of the things she did, I remember she and her partner had trained, one of our doubles teams was struggling, and so they had particular style, and Lindsay and her partner would just play this style, and so out of desperation, our #1 doubles team tried it, and they champs. You remember that? In fact, they complained about it. They're doing what we're doing. So. Emily Friedstrom McGee. And I see Emily more than any of them because she's here in Topeka a lot. And Emily was a singles player for us, and she would do anything and everything that she was asked. And, you know, Morrison. Brandy was supposed to play doubles that one year with Jennifer when Jennifer broke her arm, and so Brandy was pretty much a double specialist for us, and she didn't matter who we put her with, she would win, and she also qualified for the state and league champions, and again, very patient with me because she didn't know who she was going to play with from one day to the next because of a variety of things. So, okay. Danielle Carter Honeycutt. Danielle played singles for us, also behind Meg, and state qualifier. Just again, an incredible leader, as you can tell by the way she talks here, and she always was a leader. She was even a leader. Meg chose to let Danielle lead a lot of the time because I think Meg knew that was the strength of Danielle. So very much that way. Misty Knight Kerr, did I say Kerr? I always say it wrong, but I knew it. Misty was an incredible athlete, the fastest athlete I ever coached as far as tennis player. You could not lob over her. She would run anything down. You couldn't do it. She was a third place in doubles the year we won the state, and then runner-up the next year, right? And she also won like how many gold medals for you for girls track?
A bunch.
She said 3 gold medals in girls track. She was an incredible athlete, but also just incredibly tough. She's like Tyke Callen for us. I remember she was sicker than sick one time when we took her to Manhattan. Even though she was sick, her parents said, no, she can play, she can play. See why I introduced her parents. And she did, and she was just sicker than sick, and she won the tournament. It wasn't even close. And afterwards, you know, we were congratulating her, and she just felt awful. And then I think it was finally at that point that she finally let her sickness win. She just got through it. But again, these girls were, as you look at them, you think, wow, that, you know, how could they be tough? But they were extremely tough individuals. All of them are extremely good athletes. Most of them were dancers on the dance team here at Topeka West. They were extremely athletic. And so, again, I'm very proud of them, as you can tell. And so, thanks for letting me act. They're awesome.
teams be inducted, and there's a special bond there that is pretty special. And it's always fun to get the group together, and there's a kind of reunion atmosphere to it, and it's a good deal. There are several common denominators among tonight's inductees, as well as those who have preceded them. Number one, we just saw it here this fall, they've had tremendous parental support, or if not parental, at least a mentor has been present to give them a sense of direction and encouragement. Number two, with very few exceptions, inductees have been academic stars as well as athletic achievers. And if you look at some of those items in the program, of academic achievements, you'll know what I mean. And 3, the contribution of these inductees to the communities to which they have been living has been enormous. So honoring them in the Hall of Fame is the least we can do. This concludes the 21st Annual Topeka West Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The word annual suggests there will be a 22nd. Believe me, we have many deserving candidates to be honored, as the selection committee well knows. Please continue your support of Topeka West athletic and activities, endeavors, and we hope to see you again next year. And last thing, don't forget, this coming Sunday, the Alumni Hall of Fame induction and the Owen Henson Distinguished Teacher Awards will be presented right here in this auditorium at 2 p.m. following the reception in the cafeteria at 1 p.m. The inductees will be Richard Ross of the class of 67, Robert Knoll, the class of 85, and C.B. McGrath, the class of 94. Staff honorees are Nancy Epic, recently deceased, Diane Goheen, and Corey Wilson. We hope to see you then. Thank you for coming.